Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Scenic View podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Owens, along with Artis Watkins, Suzanne Beasley, and Sammy Clyde. It's board week at Scenic, so we don't have much time to waste. Let's get to it. All right, as I said, this week we have our quarterly board meetings for the Board of Governors, who are the member leaders of Scenic, and they come from all over the state, and they converge on Raleigh for 3 days of fun, and
by fun, he means
a lot of
meeting and talking policy.
And
to be clear, so that nobody
Yeah.
thinks everybody's coming in like
snacks and box lunches and
playing bingo.
Business.
and lots of speeches and business. But we were able to trick one of our officers into coming into the makeshift podcast studio this week. Scenic First Vice President Emily Jones is in the house today.
The crowd.
We can splice one in there. We do want to ask you some questions about, some issues that you really care about, you're passionate about, but we also just want you to be part of the show and chime in whenever you hear something you want to talk about. And if you don't, it's fine too. We're excited to have you. And I guess first off, let's just tell a little bit about yourself before we jump in.
Well, I'm glad to be here. As you stated, my name is Emily Jones, and I'm your first vice president of the association. I started out as the treasurer and then became the second vice president, so now I'm first vice. I'm a 30-year retiree of the state.
Wow.
I started my career at Central Prison back in the 90s. I'm not going to say which 90 it was. But I worked there for 10 years as an officer and as a sergeant, and then I transferred over to Wake County Probation and Parole, where I did the rest of my 30 years. First as a surveillance officer, and then as a PPO, and I retired as a mental health probation officer, which was very rewarding and challenging at the same time. And so I was volunteering for Scenic way back then for many years before I retired. So when I did retire, it gave me more time to dedicate to Scenic because I do believe in the association.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to be here with you all and do my small part.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she always acts like she's nervous at the start of things, but she's not. She's like better than we are.
I
Yeah.
am.
Come on.
So nervous.
And some of y'all may have met Emily before. She literally is from one end of the state to the other with our member reps oftentimes. So some of you guys may have met her.
Yeah,
Maybe so. If I met you, hey, y'all, hey.
I'll say when I first started here, I thought you were staff as well because you were at so many events and I saw you all the time.
I feel like staff sometimes. I just mesh it in there. It's all good. Thank you. I take that as a compliment.
Well, like I said, we'll ask you some pressing questions later, but first, I guess we'll just dive into some of our topics. And first off, I want to talk about our exciting trend, you guys.
Tell us, John.
I've noticed that our views and downloads are going up tremendously, it seems like, the last 2 or 3 weeks. The episode with the retirement system executive director, Sam Watts, is our most downloaded show ever. I think that the retirees really like that show. It was very informative for them. And then last week, we had DAC Secretary, or Department of Adult Correction Secretary, Leslie Cooley Dismukes. I always mess that up too, right, Artis? You got on to me for saying it.
You're Sanford.
Dismukes.
It's just the same.
Dismukes.
Dismukes.
Dismukes. And her episode had really high numbers last week, and it's still going up. So we're very excited about that. And one thing I would suggest is if you're listening to this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, because that way you're the first person to get our episode when it uploads.
Yeah, and we hope y'all will listen. We ran into one of our members who's coming to town for the meeting just a little while ago, and he and his wife said they spent the last 3 hours listening to podcasts, catching up.
That's
my.
that poor man.
Yeah.
Poor woman, I guess.
Actually, you know what? They had a good couple of podcasts there with Sam Watts and with Secretary Dismukes. They had a very information-intensive one to pick, as opposed to us babbling about what song we like best.
So let's talk about the interview with the secretary last week. I thought it was really interesting. And I mean, sometimes you interview folks who may be like a secretary or something, and they hold back their words on some issues, but she came out guns blazing on a few things, especially the lapse salary. I thought it was interesting that the lapse salary question, she pointed out that they pretty much have to use that to supplement their budget because they're not given enough money from the state
Yeah.
for the budget, right?
There's two ways state government is underfunded. The agencies themselves are clearly under. When you're having to use lapse salary to pay routine bills, you're underfunded. And when you have number of state employees overall that's the same as it was practically 20 years ago in state government to serve 2 million more people than 20 years ago, you're underfunding that too. What do? You got to pay the power bill, but you also have to staff to where somebody's not going to get killed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And power company ain't going to wait, but,
I love the part where you were like, legislators ask us all the time, what can we do besides money? And you're like, well, what would the power company want besides money?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, while agencies can do things to show more respect to employees, at the end of the day, again, you can't pay the grocery store with respect or with a bench outside or something like that to take your break on. You have to have the money, and everything's gone up. And I don't know why. The legislature seems to understand that about everything else except for state employees and retirees. Like their stuff didn't go up.
Yeah.
Like they're living in some kind of bubble.
Right.
It's ridiculous. And ridiculous is the word I use when I don't want to use a word I can't use on this thing.
I'm kind of curious to know what Suzanne's opinion was on the episode because she was at the General Assembly and was not able to attend that recording.
I was. Auditor Bolick presented his lapse salary report to the House Government Efficiency Committee, so I was there for that day and didn't get to join you guys for the podcast, but good podcast. I was in committee when Secretary Dismukes spoke to the JLOC, the Joint Legislative Oversight Committee on Justice and Public Safety. And the fire that you guys heard in her voice last week, she had that same energy when she was speaking to the legislature. These are issues that they've been there. They're not going anywhere. And if we don't address them, and she told them this, she said, it's not if something happens, it's when something happens. We don't want a repeat of 2017.
2 years ago, when we were trying to get agency heads to agree to do a press conference on the dire amount of staff vacancies across state government and how it affects taxpayers and even the public safety, we had a hard time getting some to come forward. Even though they would talk about it privately, they wouldn't come forward. What I'm seeing now is agency head after we've finally crossed that threshold to where it is so far beyond doable for these agencies. They know it. They know they've got a mess with trying to serve the public, that they can't serve them the right way, and that somebody's going to get hurt, whether it's an employee or the public.
Yeah. Look, I'm still so disturbed over our interview with Billy Lassiter, Deputy Secretary Billy Lassiter. And he was talking about having to use lapse salaries to hire temporary people to meet federal and state mandates. So they've given him things
in
juvenile justice. Yeah. They've given him things he has to do, but no money.
Right.
People.
Yeah.
And then positions in his facilities require a 4-year degree. Starting salary is $37,000.
And
So-
it's a juvenile.
Yeah, juvenile.
Children.
So, Emily,
Juvenile.
you're out in the field. What are you hearing in terms of from employees about the fact that we still don't have a budget and the fact that their agencies don't have what they need to operate?
Well, of course, they're frustrated because there has not been a budget passed. They're looking for back the blue to get an increase. And even that is troublesome because the newer supervisory staff are going to get more than the existing tenured supervisors are going to get. So that's been chatter. But it's very hard for them to do the work that they need to do because of morale. Mostly,
Right.
because they want the additional pay. They're being stretched thin, especially in the prison system. Someone was speaking yesterday saying that they were running the prison, even though it's a small prison with like 4 people. And that is horrendous. But what do? You have people that don't want to come to work, or you have positions that you need to fill. So to hear that they want to take these positions to balance their budget, that puts them in an even worse spot. So morale right now it's pretty bad within the prison system, and somewhat with probation and parole also, because their caseloads are so high. Some of them are, and stress level is high. These people need some relief.
And it's so dangerous. You've done both jobs.
Yes, it potentially very dangerous, especially whenever you're so understaffed, because at any given time, those inmates or the juveniles inside the facilities, they could take over the place. And so you're there and you're trying to be vigilant about doing your checks, about how you handle yourself in difficult situations. You have to always be aware of your surroundings so that you can diffuse situations before they get out of hand. And that's stressful in and of itself. And then you're doing it by yourself. And you don't know if your relief is coming in. So I'm just hearing that people are frustrated, but they do want to do the work that they're paid to do, but they want to get paid at a better rate. And they want to be respected more as well, so that they're not at work for the majority of their day and then go home and they can't give their families what they need when they get there and take care of themselves too.
Yeah, it's not physically sustainable. I mean,
It's not over a long period of time. No.
In a profession where, I mean, correctional officers, the average lifespan is 59.
Yes, 59.
59, y'all.
So this may be a personal question. You can say no but you did mention that you had worked at Central Prison before moving to probation and parole. Was that part of the reason why you made the change? I mean, was vacancy a problem back then, or?
No, not necessarily. That we had plenty of staff. You could go into our lineup and the room was full. And people's mindsets were very different back then. You had camaraderie. You depended on your fellow officers, and you could depend on your supervisory staff. Everybody worked together so that you could get the common goal done. So everybody that came to work that day went home that day. And of course, at Central Prison, because it's a maximum security prison, you had the worst of the worst there. Yeah. And so it was very important to have a cohesive staff so that everybody was protected. So it was not like it is now.
Yeah.
We had plenty of staff. But the reason that I left Central Prison was just to broaden my career.
Okay.
So, yeah, it had nothing to do with staff. And I loved my time there. But I knew it was time to do something different.
So when you left and you took on probation, parole responsibilities, I mean, how scary is it?
Oh, man.
Pull up to somebody's house. I would think that would be so scary.
I was shaking in my boots. No, you don't know. I can remember whenever I left in 2005, and I went in to talk to the warden, and he was saying, "Are you sure that's what you want to do?" Because I was a sergeant on the death row unit. And he says, "Well, you know, you got to be going to people's houses and you don't know what's in there and you got to go out at night." And I said, "I know." And you know, I'm a little person. So I'm saying, I understand.
If you saw Emily, I mean,
she's tiny, but my money's on her.
Hey, I got a good talk game. That's what I was told by my sergeant. He said, "You might not be able to fight, but you got a good talk game." And I was just needing that change. And so it is dangerous. You don't know what you're walking into. Whereas different in the prison, you can kind of control what people have, but inside of their homes or their workplaces, the different places we have to go, it can be quite difficult and it can be very dangerous. So
I could not do that. That's intense.
Well, it is intense, but if you have a good circle of coworkers that can teach you and that you are willing to listen to and learn from, it can be a very rewarding situation also. And I had that. I had some excellent coworkers that helped me along. So then I, of course, in return, helped the ones that came in after me.
So you said when you left the prison, the warden, was like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" Do you think it's changed now to where if someone went from probation and parole to prisons, their supervisor would be like, "Are you sure you want to go into that?"
If I had to guess, I would say that going from probation over to the prison, they definitely would say, "Are you sure you want to do that?"
Really?
Because even though we're dealing with the same types of people and in a lot of instances, these same people, with probation, you have the freedom to adjust your schedule. You're out in the community. You're driving to people's homes. You're going to check on them. You're wearing a bunch of different hats and services for your offenders. But when you're at the prison, you're locked in.
Yeah.
Now it's 12 hours. When I was there, it was 8.
Yeah.
12 hours you're locked in. You don't have contact with anyone unless you're calling them on the landline phone. So you're kind of going backwards if you go from the probation office into the prison system.
And you have a lot less support than you did when you were there, right? A lot less coworkers.
At the prison?
Yeah.
Yes, a whole lot less coworkers because the staffing is so short.
And you got a gun if you're probation parole.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you have one too at the prison if you're on the tower.
Right, but if you're just in there.
Right. You don't. You do not have a gun. You may have a baton, if they still call it that. I don't know. Is it called a baton?
Probably.
It is
Okay.
in TV
That's
shows.
Yeah. But
But there's so
you
many
do
things
have
that
more
could go wrong
protections.
if correctional officers were carrying weapons like that.
Oh, definitely.
You know,
Absolutely. Because
I
it can get
mean-
in the hands of the wrong folks.
well, we know firsthand from what happened in
Mhm.
2017, 16, 17,
Yes.
that it was, they can use anything for a weapon. So
Anything.
we don't want to give them anything
Mhm.
to make it
Now,
easier.
that's not to discredit anybody from going from probation to the prison. Because like I said, my prison time was good, and it was a great learning experience for me. Being a young adult, I grew up at the prison for those 10 years. But just thinking about the mindset, that mindset will still be the same. Are you sure that that's what you want to do?
Mhm.
So, mhm.
You mentioned that the mindset was more cohesive and working as a team back then. Has the mindset with that shifted? Because it's about the money, but you
No.
said that it was more cohesive and team
It was
oriented.
right. It was more cohesive and team oriented back then because you had the number of staff that you needed. And they were, how can I put this? Generational changes have made a difference.
Yeah.
Because just speaking for myself, I was the young person back then. When I went into the prison system, I was ready to listen and I was ready to learn. But a lot of times now, nothing against the younger folk, sometimes you can't tell them nothing. And so they want to go in already knowing the process. Or they want to know, well, why is it done this way? Well, it's done this way because historically it has worked inside the prison system. Historically, it has worked for DHHS or for probation and parole. This is the way we do it. But sometimes they think that they know the better way, or it could be done in a different way.
I mean, I definitely thought when I went into the workforce that I
Of
knew better
course.
than everybody else, but I wasn't at a prison where something really bad could happen because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of think the reason money has become more of the issue because people weren't paid enough back in the day either, but they had less danger than it is now because of the staffing and because of
that's a big part.
equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And because, like you said, the folks you're dealing with have changed too.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Definitely. So I would hope that, now I don't work at the prison anymore, of course, but I would hope that they are becoming more cohesive. But, whenever you are dealing with the question, okay, if I take this action against this prisoner, what's going to be the repercussions? So you're thinking about, okay, I think this is what I should do, but it may be wrong. And what if I'm sued? And so while you're thinking this, instead of taking your action, you're worried about the backlash of what you do because of different standards, which we held to those standards back then as well. But because we were able to collectively lean on each other, we knew that the decisions that we made were sound decisions. But now you have younger folks working in the system. You have less experienced people. So they're having to think about those things. Those 2 seconds that you use to think about what if, that could mean life or death.
Yeah, the pressure's different.
The pressure is different and the experience is not there. And because some people don't want to listen and learn, they're doubtful about their own decisions within the prison system and probation, wherever. So you got to be confident in the decisions that you make whenever you're in those types of situations.
So let's talk about community supervision, because I don't think we've talked a lot about it on this podcast. We've talked about prisons quite a bit, but I want to learn a little more about that job. Like, when did you retire?
I retired in 2022.
Okay, so you're not far removed from.
No, but it's flown by. Time is flown.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It
right?
does.
So Secretary Dismuke said that the vacancy crisis hasn't hit that department as bad as prisons. Was that your experience too?
Well, just from going into the different probation offices across the state, it has not hit them as bad. It's hit them, but not as bad.
Okay.
So they're able to function and get things done.
And she pointed to, I guess, was it law enforcement benefits?
Well, yeah, and Emily, you were a big part of the grassroots lobbying to get those full law enforcement benefits.
Yes.
For folks in community corrections. We're still struggling to get them, I think mainly because of the numbers of people we're talking about who work in prisons. But I think that probably did help all your efforts and the efforts of other people that helped. I think that hopefully made a difference. But that's exactly the kind of thing you have to do. If the danger's higher, you have to have something to to make people want to
You
do it.
really do, because people don't want to work in the prisons because it's so stringent.
Yeah.
Yeah, the money could be nice and the overtime is plentiful, but people are scared to go in there and work.
Well, we talk about the correctional officers who have said, that offenders will tell us, you're only going home today because we're letting you go.
Oh, what
We
a
hear
statement.
that
Yeah.
all the
so,
time.
um,
Not a little
Mm-mm.
bit. We shared it with the secretary. That's
that's
apparently not
disturbing.
uncommon.
Yeah, and they could, honestly.
Well, I was going to say it's
Mhm.
true.
Mhm.
It's
And I feel like it's kind of been true for a long time. I can
Yeah.
remember years ago when I was a baby lobbyist. But we went and toured Central Prison.
So what year was
It
it?
was around 2008.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so
the
that was an experience
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
I'm sure it was. And whenever I started, and I had to go through the tunnel to get to wherever I was doing my interview or whatever. Inmates were lined up on both
Mhm.
sides of the tunnel. And so I was thinking by 2008, maybe that had ended
Nope,
because they
they were
locked them
still
down
there.
after a while. They had a new rule that they had to be locked down during certain hours. But yeah, that was scary. But I was like, I gotta do it.
It was a very thorough tour. I
Mhm.
remember visiting the gym, and
Mhm.
there were, they were playing
Of course you do.
basketball, and well, but there was that feeling there that there's one officer, and then there's the officer with us,
Yeah.
and it was definitely that feeling of what would happen. I mean, it just takes someone with some
Yeah.
special grit to be able to do that.
It really
that
does. You
work.
have to respect the officers, the
Yeah.
correctional officers, and the sergeants and lieutenants and the captains and the wardens for doing, and anybody else. You got
Yeah.
program staff,
Exactly.
chaplains, people that work in the kitchen staff. They have mad respect because
Yeah.
everybody can't do that. Mhm.
So Secretary Dismukes talked about the safety package that they had recently finished implementing. Are things like that important for probation and parole officers? And
Because I
did you
think
feel
this
safe
included
out
body
there?
cams
Yeah.
too now that y'all didn't have.
No, we didn't have body cams back then. Back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, of course, yeah. All of that's very important because you just never know what you're walking into. No matter how many people you have with you, you just don't know. You're just glad to have a little bit of backup.
Yeah.
Emily, sometimes, I know President Powell came in here and we asked him what are the craziest stories out of prisons that you've got. So we'll ask you on the probation parole side, what's the craziest thing that ever happened to you?
It was a good story.
The craziest thing?
Or scariest or
Scariest, something
yeah.
that just really stands out to you is
Well, I'll just mention this one because a lot of times whenever I'm talking to people, my kids, for one, when I told them about something that happened to me, I really didn't have a lot of harmful or potentially harmful things happen to me. I was blessed in that way. Lord, thank you. But there was a particular inmate that I had words with one day, and I was just telling him something that he needed to be doing or somewhere he needed to be. I don't remember. He was a really high gang member. And so, but I always tell people whenever you're working in the prison, say what you mean and mean what you say. And if you always carry yourself in the same manner, inmates will never have a reason to think that you're favoring anybody over another. So you always need to carry yourself in the right manner. So he was upset with me that day that I had to say something to him. So the next day, I popped his door where we feed them because it was in lockup. So we pop the doors and we go back and we give them their drinks and we give them their food and then we lock the door back up. And this particular day, he decided he wanted to throw something on me. Yeah, so he threw substance on me, and I'm like, oh my God, let me get out of here. Because they have thrown feces, they've thrown urine, they've thrown blood, every kind of thing, and other things that I will not mention. But this inmate,
biohazards. They throw biohazards.
They all kinds of nasty driblets. But he threw cold coffee on me.
Okay.
And so I was like, even though he threw something on me, I'm grateful it was cold coffee, And I said, okay, because of his position, he had to do something because it was on the block and everybody else heard what I said.
Yeah.
So that was his kind of get back. So I was like, okay, I hate it happened, but I'm grateful it was just cold coffee. And then he apologized a few days later. I wasn't Jones back then. I don't know what I named, but Officer Elliott was my name back then. Officer Elliott, I just want to say, I apologize because of the way that I carried myself at that prison. He knew that he was wrong for what he did that caused my reprimand. He knew that he was wrong for throwing anything on me or anybody else. But he had to take action to save his face.
Well, I remember one of the first times I toured a prison when I came to work at SEANC, being so surprised that the correctional personnel and the inmates were not, it just wasn't adversarial. And some of the correctional officers looked at me and said, no, we show respect because we want respect back. And there's just no reason for it to have to be adversarial. And it's certainly not to anybody's benefit. And I don't know, TV makes you think sometimes that it's a certain way, but it was very interesting to find out. And your story kind of backs that up, that, it's human beings.
Exactly.
In confined spaces together. And sometimes there's going to be moments, but usually people are going to think about it.
And most of the time they do, especially when they know that you have been nothing but respectful. And they remember, now you don't show the favoritism. And they always told us also, don't read their jackets because they're already here for their punishment. It's not your job to punish.
Right.
So you do what you have to do and you follow your rules and your standards and you just let them know up front what you expect and don't deviate from that. And you should not have a problem. Now, things do happen now. Things still happen even if you are respectful and you're respected. But we always hope that everyone is safe while they're working inside the prison system or when they go there.
And you carried that through probation and parole as well,
yes.
right?
Even more so.
In that job, you have to do a lot of different things, though, right? You have to kind of be a social worker, right?
All of that. Social worker, you have to be a counselor, you have to be the probation officer.
Help them with housing,
yes,
all kinds of things.
Housing, mental health treatment. Sometimes you play Uber, too.
Is that rewarding when you see someone, thrive, actually get through it?
It is very rewarding.
Okay.
It is.
Do you have any success stories that you can think of? Or I don't know if you can even talk about it.
Well, I saw one lady today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
I was in the bank and she walked in and I said, hello. And she looked over, she said, hey, Miss Jones, you were my probation officer.
I guess it's a good thing when they remember you and are, happy to see you. So.
Yeah. And then she walked out. She had somebody with her outside the door. She walked out and I heard her say, that was my old probation officer. So, yeah, I just hope that I was impactful with the caseload that I had before I had the mental health probation position and after, because all of that is challenging. Because if you already have mental health challenges and then you combine that with homelessness and then you combine that with substance abuse or the lack of resources, the lack of support, it could be very heavy. And so trying to give them the support that they needed, sometimes as an officer, it can really put a hamper on you if you don't know how to separate the two.
Right.
So a lot of times you have to compartmentalize a lot of things that happen to you or with your offenders while you're working. But when you go home, you need to be able to relax and enjoy your family and do your self-care and exercise and try to stay fit to keep your own mental health intact. But yeah, of course it's rewarding. I've seen people throughout my time as a retiree and reflect on the things that they had struggled with and to see how they are now. Not to say they don't have any more troubles, but at least I was able to get them through their period of probation and also to be impactful to them is important. It is rewarding.
Not everybody can do this kind of work, so.
No, they can't.
And
And some
heart of
shouldn't
service
be.
is so important.
Some shouldn't be, but yeah, it
Well,
takes
and
an
that's the
important time.
problem. If you get to the point where fast food restaurants that offer benefits are competitive with the state, it is dangerous for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, some people who shouldn't be will end up in the jobs.
In the jobs,
Well,
right?
it
Because
changes
they
the
need the
pool of
help.
candidates that
It
are
does.
going to apply for this work.
Absolutely.
I mean, at some point, it's like, are you breathing?
Yeah, are you breathing? Come on in here.
We'll take
Yeah.
it.
Because you could be 18 now and work at the prison.
Which
That
is
scared me.
Stunning.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're still a child.
oh yes. You have no life experiences.
None.
You are still learning yourself. And I know that they need. Yeah, I know they have parameters and places where they cannot work within the prison, but I was amazed.
I'm not sure that 44-year-old me could do it.
Yeah.
44-year-old you
But
put your big boy pants on, you're good. Mhm.
Can we
It'll come
talk
back.
a minute about how community corrections, how probation and parole, how you guys work with local police departments? Because I know I read an article just a few days ago in Charlotte that Special Ops had worked with CMPD, Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, and apprehended an offender who had not only a gun, but he had drugs. He had fentanyl and maybe some weed. But that was that was some marijuana. But that was such a danger. I mean, so where does the connection happen with state law enforcement and local law enforcement? Yeah, particularly probation and parole.
Well, in my experience, just to be completely honest, sometimes the county sheriff's department or the police department would depend on probation and parole office to get inside the house because according to the conditions of the order, we can go and search the house at any time because they're on probation.
But they can't. But they can't.
But they can't.
Gotcha.
So that was a helpful way sometimes if they needed to gain access. And if they're on probation and they have that standard listed and condition, well, it's always listed. But that was helpful for us to be able to go in and have them along with us for extra backup.
Yeah.
And of course, there's strength in numbers. So if you have a good relationship with the department, which you should always have a good relationship with the local law enforcement, at any capacity, then strength in numbers, go in there and do what you need to do, and everybody hopefully will come out safely. Now the guy, you said he had the fentanyl and the marijuana and the firearms, and they probably felt like he had it because sometimes they have tips. And they know that they have things of that sort inside of their homes. And so you go in knowing, okay, this is what we're looking for. This is what we got. But it's very helpful to have that backup.
Yeah.
We talked about this briefly the last time you were on here. You have such a unique perspective, having worked both roles. And probation, parole, like you just so eloquently stated, you've got to deal with so many mental health issues sometimes, criminal justice issues, and how they mix and mingle and how one causes the other sometimes. You are so uniquely suited to talk about this. And I know one thing we wanted to do as SEANC is have a committee to look at this. There's so many out there right now. After the Charlotte light rail killing, there are so many committees and roundtables and so forth. I know some people from the legislature listen to this, people in the administration, whoever, somebody needs to get Emily Jones on one of these bodies that's looking at this because you need that perspective from somebody who has worked with local law enforcement, with, mental health, social workers and people like that to help people and who understands that nexus between that and crimes.
I would love to do something like that.
All right, y'all heard it here first.
Yes, you heard it here on the podcast for SEANC. Yeah, it's very important. And because of the lack of resources for the homeless and people that struggle with mental health issues, it's a dire, dire need for us as a community, as legislators, as an association, as moms and dads and uncles. We have to do something to help these people because it's not going to make it good for the state because they're on the streets and they're not being provided for. And to make the connection in which those things are happening, but I think the more voices we have and the more people that we have on these committees and at these round tables, that's going to help shine the light that needs to be shined so that they can get the funding that they need and we can get the public outcry to open up some doors for folks that may not otherwise have the door opened.
And sometimes people in public life are thinking that looking at people with mental health issues in a special way in terms of criminal justice is somehow being soft. I've known you forever. The last thing you are is soft on crime.
No.
You're pretty tough. And yet to hear you say that, what would you say to somebody who just thinks if you take into account someone's mental health issues and you don't just keep running them through the criminal justice system without doing something other than that, why is that not working for us?
This is just my personal opinion. I think the worst thing that we ever could have done was close Dorothea Dix. Now, somebody might not like it, but that place was massive and it gave so much support to people that had mental health issues or they were in some way or another disabled or challenged. So whenever they closed it and we started leaning on Central Regional Hospital, it was very hard to get people placed in Central Regional Hospital. It was almost like a act of Congress. So where did that leave people to be on the streets? And it's very hard to get them into any other facilities, or it was whenever I was doing that type of work. It's very hard to get them housed, to get them meals. I mean, the homeless shelter, they had to tighten up on their rules as well. So it was hard to get them in there sometimes too, because if their mental state was not to a point where they could sit on a phone for 20 minutes and answer questions, they forfeited their right to go into the shelter. I've sat there with some of my offenders to try to get them into the shelter, and they became so frustrated with the questions that they were having to ask. While they were needed, the offender didn't have the mental capacity to continue to answer these questions. Why already answered that question one time? Why asking it again? But what would I tell a person? I would ask them what kind of bubble have they been in, and they need to take a walk down Wilmington Street at the men's shelter, look through the woods and see the people that have tent cities back there. And then go back there and talk to those people to see why they're there, to see what they might need. Go back there and feed them every now and then.
Nobody's going to do that.
They're not going to do it. But until you do it, until you see it, we really don't want to hear what your criticisms are.
Is it a large percentage of folks who come out of prison that wind up homeless and have mental?
I don't think there's a large percentage. It's significant.
Yeah.
But I really can't give you a number. Just with my experience, and let me also add, just because a person is not on a mental health probation case or caseload doesn't mean that they're not homeless, because regular probation officers also have people that are mentally challenged and that are homeless. But I may have carried a caseload of maybe 40, and maybe a quarter of those would be homeless.
Okay.
Those are just the ones that are on probation or parole.
It's got to be
It's still a lot of people.
incredibly hard to keep track of someone who's homeless, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is hard. Sometimes we had to go into the woods, like I was just mentioning. And I had a coworker of mine. She was smaller than me, and she was not from this area. And she would literally go back there deep in the woods. And I would tell her, Callie, you have got to stop doing that. But she cared about these people so much that she would not think twice about it. She would go back there, grab them, and make them get in the car with her and take them to their appointments. And she's moved to Florida now, but she was about her business. And sometimes it's what you got to do.
Where are our probation and parole TV shows? That would be a good TV show.
Oh, yeah. They tried that, I think,
really?
in Minnesota or
Like,
somewhere.
like 911, we could do that. Oh, we're going to write that.
If we're going to write it, yeah. Make that happen.
We'll make the show.
That'd be great.
Well, this has been awesome. I knew you would knock it out of the park. I had no doubt. You had doubt. But
Thank you. I did have doubt. Thank you for your faith.
It's
Interesting.
good. Yeah,
and
you're such an interesting person.
in good
Oh,
ways
thank
and
you.
in disturbing ways.
Do y'all have any other hard-hitting questions before we move on to the fun part of the podcast? Oh, you want to say?
I don't have any fun things to say, but I just want to say this. But I think one thing that would help, at least the people in Wake County, because that's where I'm from and that's my base. Probation officers in Wake County. Parking is a really bad issue. I know I was paying $105 a month to park my state car in the deck. Yes.
We had Ramona on about last year who talked about how they don't get to park and they have to pay to park and then walk distance to the Wake County courthouse. And they could see people who know them and recognize them and are like, oh, no, I'm going to hurt them because I know who that is.
It could potentially be dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think something has happened.
Legislative folks who hear it, let's handle
that too.
Handle that. Yes.
But that feels like something that could be handled pretty
That
easily.
can be
so-
done.
Well,
Come on.
we have been trying to get
you
that
have.
changed for a long time. And they do have parking lots for a lot less than that, but you're walking 3 or 4 blocks
Yeah.
with your vests and your safety package.
Okay,
And
we're taking you down
Yeah.
to Jones Street in April when they
Yep.
come back.
Uh-huh.
You'll get it sorted.
All righty.
But, I bet real estate is so expensive there. You can't just build a parking deck,
Mhm. It is I'm quite sure it's very expensive.
Wow.
Ramona talked about how she had known people who had gotten tickets on their state vehicles
Wow.
for not paying to park when they didn't want to walk 5-6 blocks just to get to the courthouse.
Well,
You had to pay parking for your state vehicle?
yes, I paid to park my state vehicle, and then I had to pay to park if I wanted to park close, like if I wanted to run in or park on the side, pay to park. And if you forget or if you're in court and your time runs over or if you're doing an arrest and you overstay your park, you're going to get a ticket and you better pay it.
Out of your pocket?
Out of your pocket.
And that's crazy to me that they are just
you're going to pay that, or it's going to double in about 10 days.
Crazy.
You should be able to write that off your taxes.
I don't think that's a thing, John. But physical fitness is so important, and mental health. I don't care where you work. If you're stressed, if you think you need to talk to somebody, we have ways that you can get some counseling. If you need to go to the gym, walk around in a park, go somewhere and get yourself some air. I think if officers were able to drive their state vehicles to a gym to work out during their lunch break, that would be great. That's something that other organizations have been trying to work on as well, just to help with your mental health and get the help you need. So I would hope that you would do that.
Yeah. I feel like Emily's Law is coming. Is there already an Emily's Law?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And another thing. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
No, you're not. No,
I'm really not. I'm on goodness. Let's go.
I think we know
It
you.
feels like you're running for office. Emily.
Oh, well, maybe. No, just this office. President is next.
Well, it's awesome to hear you so passionate, as a lot of our leaders are, all of our youth leaders. And we'll switch gears a little bit. This month, February is Black History Month. We've been trying to highlight state employees and state sites where employees work that, are prominent. And just wanted to ask you, as a state employee and a retiree, do you have a mentor or a prominent person that you look up to and maybe led you to a career in public service?
Well, I don't have anybody that led me to a career in public service. I think I've always kind of been that way growing up. But Carla Yarborough is an old supervisor of mine.
Okay.
Yeah. She's not with us anymore. Wonderful lady.
Was she at Central Prison or?
Probation and parole.
Oh, okay.
She was a chief.
Okay.
And two things she would say to me. She would say, well, she said this to everybody, give the people what they want. Because if you went in her office complaining about something that you had to do that you didn't understand, give the people what they want. Just do your work and get it done. Another thing that she would say to me specifically is, you can't be ghetto all your life. I would try to take a shortcut. Well, this is what she meant. I would try to take a shortcut. And she would tell me I can't be ghetto all my life. And I had a different position in a different organization. And so I think I was trying to write a letter or I was a recommendation or something. So she was reading over it for me and Emily, her voice was a little bit deep. Emily, you can't be ghetto all your life. And so she would help me with sharpening up my skills. So I've always loved Carla. And I always do. So I still do.
Just remembering her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so she was a sergeant, you said?
She was a chief with probation and parole. But actually, Carla made history. I just remembered this. She went to NC State, and she was, we're going to have to Google her because I can't remember the exact accolade, but she was one of their star basketball players years ago. Carla Hillman was her name then, but she's Carla Hillman Yarborough.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
Yes. Awesome lady. Awesome lady. She made you feel, even if you were wrong in what you were doing, she did not make you feel dumb or stupid or shortcoming in your attempts, but she helped to guide you to getting the right way to do things. And she made you find what you were looking for. So when you had the same question again, you knew how to figure it out. And she would listen to you whenever you had personal things going on.
Wow.
So she was just
She
a
had
wonderful
tons.
lady.
I'm looking up, like you said. She played under Kay Yao. She was third in program history in most assists in the NCAA tournament, seventh in program history in most NCAA tournament games played, and second best in total program history with 12 assists in a single game versus Clemson on January 3rd, 1987.
Yep.
Wow.
That's my Carla.
That's awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad we
District
know that
10,
too.
Carla Yarborough.
Yeah. And I think she'd be proud of you. So
I think she would be.
look at you now. You're on the Scenic View podcast. Okay. Well, that's a great story, Emily, and thank you for sharing it. So let's go to the Gen Z moment. You got anything this week, Sammy?
I don't know how much we're going to want to get into it, but
Okay.
we can. The main thing that Gen Zs are focused on right now is the Epstein files. The lack of information, the lack of things being released has caused a lot of distrust with Gen Zs and political powers that be. Doesn't matter who you are. There is a lot of distrust right now and just not wanting to hear any of it. They just want the facts released. And it's been,
I think
it's
all
been
generations
tense.
want that,
Yeah.
but I understand that this might be like your generation's first time seeing this. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I think this is so much more extensive than anything we've ever.
Yeah.
And y'all have been through some stuff as a generation. So
Yeah. Definitely went through some weird things, including just COVID and like
I think
experiencing
that
that
alone.
during peak growth years of like your social development years and doing things like that. It's caused definitely some weird stuff in our lives. But I think that just these files and the lack of transparency.
And to be honest, y'all are the generation that would have been victimized.
Yes.
So
with
that
things
has to
like Life Touch, which was who was taking our school yearbook photos, whether we wanted them or not. They were involved in the files from what we've heard. Apps like Kik, which was a text messaging app, have been involved. And there are a lot of people who are my age now who are looking back and saying, wow, my name very well could be in those files as a victim from the unlimited access to the internet that I had as a child.
Yeah.
So you've talked a bit in the past about Gen Z's disillusionment with both parties, with institutions. We're in a primary season right now. Anecdotally, are your friends saying they're voting? Are they?
I don't know how much they're voting in the primaries. I think that they'll vote come this fall, but not doing much during the primaries.
Well, I guess in fairness, that's kind of true of.
They're kind of like, whoever I have is my option in the end, unless it's something that they are very passionate about.
But they don't seem to be just latching on to one party or the other and going for the ride. Yeah.
No, they're getting much more frustrated, almost in the feeling of burn it all to the ground at this point and start from scratch. They honestly have no faith.
What that would look like. But
yeah. But very little faith at this point in either side.
Right.
I think everybody's faith has been challenged at this point.
Yeah.
Everybody's.
I think we're going to need lots of reform for this, but yeah.
We need Dolly. I'm telling you, Dolly Parton needs to be president.
But this may be the first time in my life that I don't vote. And I say that because I don't think I have a primary. I don't think I have anything to vote for. I haven't checked yet. Maybe everyone needs to check that. See if you have something to vote for.
That's a good point. Check it.
Because I don't think we have any primaries in my district.
And I had a friend the other day asked me about voting, and I looked it up, and she didn't have a primary. She was very confused.
And just as a reminder, SEANC did no primary.
Yeah, no endorsements.
And early voting is going on now through February 28th, though. And March 3rd is the election. And please check this State Board of Elections, and I think you can get information there on who your races
district
are
and who's running, and
I think we have some school board races in Lee County, so maybe I'll vote. But
you still got school age kids.
Yeah. So I was going to go with my question of the week. Play the music.
John's wacky weird question of the week.
So I was going to revisit the Olympics and say, what has been your favorite thing, your favorite event so far? Anyone?
The bits and pieces that I've caught, because I fight the system, y'all. I am not paying any more money to watch TV.
That is the whole thing. Where do you watch this at? Like, for real? I don't know.
So Paramount.
It's on Peacock.
Was it Paramount?
Peacock is who sponsors the Olympics.
Yeah, but you had to subscribe to it. So 30 minutes in, it cuts me off. And I'm like, what the heck? I was just watching this. So no, you've got to subscribe to it. And I just refuse. I don't watch that much TV. irritated about
Yeah.
how they get money out of us every way we turn around. And I'm just fighting the system on that. I'm not paying money to watch it.
It's just like the figure skating is always like appointment television.
Yeah.
Right? And like, when is that going to happen? Is it tonight? We're recording on Thursday, but I think
I would like to watch
doing
it.
figure skating the whole time. Different.
I'll give you my parents'
to see
direct
it.
TV account.
It's just
That's what I do. Like,
Emily, did you just indicate you haven't been watching at all?
I have not been
What
watching.
in the actual world? Come on.
I've seen stuff
not.
about the quad god. That's about all.
he
I've
lost.
seen.
Though, didn't
Yeah, he had like something happened during one of his things. He was very upset about himself. All I've seen is stuff on the internet because so many people were talking about him because he has deemed himself as the quad god.
Mm-hmm.
And so someone had mentioned he messed up something during his routine. He was very beat himself up about it, but he didn't win. And so I was like, okay, well,
Ilya Malin, and he expressed some mental health concerns similar to what Simone Biles did a few years back. The pressure on these folks, I can't even.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm not going to throw rocks at these folks because I could never handle that kind of pressure.
It's a lot.
But it's concerning whenever you hear a young person expressing that kind of stuff online because they are definitely trying to let people know it's.
Well, when you're doing skills like in figure skating or even in gymnastics, they're very, very dangerous if you even get the slightest bit in your head about it. Even if you have done that skill 1,000,000 times and stuck it 1,000,000 times, it's very, very dangerous to just get in your head.
It's my understanding Simone Biles, who had said something about gymnastics, is at the Olympics, is in Italy.
I
has talked to him.
I've seen several times she's been in the crowd, and they say, and her husband Jonathan Owens, because her husband's name.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So thanks for bringing down the fun part of the show, by the way, y'all. I mean,
can't bring me down about it. I love the Winter Olympics. It's the best.
With his quad
god. Yeah.
Quad god.
So I've been watching the hockey's been awesome. And of course, curling has been awesome. And I watched snowboarding, women's slope style snowboarding, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So those are my three.
Surprised you hadn't been watching the speed skating.
No, I can't find that. I tried to find it.
See, they do this to us on purpose, John.
Yeah, I haven't been watching any of it because I'm the same as you.
Why are they keep
not paying for it?
Okay, I need to check that out.
I mean, this is my thing. We can't keep paying all this money to watch TV and pay the Duke energy bill, the Progress energy bill. Something has to give.
Yeah.
I'm like, my parents, they pay for DirecTV and then they have some of the apps and stuff. So I could, in theory, get on my computer and log into their DirecTV and do it. But I don't want to. I want to watch stuff on my TV.
I think y'all are all going to jail. I don't think.
Yeah, don't tell anyone.
I don't know about all that, but I'm with you, John. The curling, unbelievable.
Awesome. It really
I really want to have a scenic curling team like you suggested.
So, what about double luge? Have y'all seen that?
I saw someone who was doing.
No.
No, I know people are okay. Men are being so immature about the double luge.
Why is that a thing?
There was someone who was doing the luging, and he was going face first.
Oh, that's called
skeleton.
Yeah.
Why?
80 miles an hour.
He was like the only person who was going face first. Everyone else is like on their.
No. There's a whole event. Skeleton's a whole event.
Oh my goodness.
Colin Jost going down the bobsled, and he was like, "It's the most terrifying."
I saw that.
I also saw pictures of like the bobsledding tracks or luging tracks, whatever they are. When you're watching it on TV, it does not look like it's going sideways.
Yeah.
But you see someone standing next to it. It is a full on the wall, like defying gravity kind of stuff. And I'm like
a NASCAR track,
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Like, it's crazy once you see that.
I just love Olympics. I love winter. I love summer. I love every event of all of it. I love it. I think these people who can do these things are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Their dedication, I can't even fathom.
I did see something, and I want to know you guys' opinion on this. As a second child, I kind of agree. But people were saying that Summer Olympics is a first child sport. If you were the firstborn, that would be like the summer. And then the people who would do the Winter Olympics, those are the second-born children energy.
That is so wrong. That is so wrong.
But I see it because I did gymnastics growing up. I was never going to be good enough to be an Olympic gymnast. Never going to be good enough.
Well,
Wow.
Well, that's how you have to look at it, Sam.
My
It's just
favorite-
the energy because the
That's
energy
something
is
to
very
think about.
different.
Energy
My
is
brother is much more disciplined than I am,
Mhm.
and he's the firstborn child, and I got the wild child energy.
Well, I think there's
definitely say
the
it.
Winter Olympics are more deadly
Yes.
overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, speaking of which, did find out the rifle event. It's called biathlon.
yes, and it's
Awesome.
interesting
Yeah.
to watch.
So my thing is, we're terrible at it though, right? UNC, like, USA, sorry, not UNC. USA is like terrible at this sport, and we have so many guns everywhere.
I know
Why
it.
can't we just send like the
Because we
Green
can't
Berets to
ski-
do that?
Because after you've
Because they don't
cross
want-
country skied and your heart rate is
Yeah.
180, and then you have to lay down and you only have a certain time and you have to not miss one of those 5 shots.
Yeah,
As
We're
a
dying.
child of a Green Beret,
We're not-
they don't want to.
it's just like
You got what? People in Vermont that could maybe
know.
have
Yeah.
enough snow to
we're not
get.
sending our best at this. Like they always say, like, why don't we put LeBron in handball?
We need to.
Things like
yeah,
that, you know, like
exactly.
You know how in Rocky IV Russia created the super athlete?
yeah,
We need to like morph
Drago.
a Southern good old boys shooting with Vermont cross country ability,
There has to
and
be
we'd have
someone.
like a super biathlete.
There has to be somebody in Boone that can do.
What about people in Alaska? Are we forgetting about people in
Oh,
Alaska?
Oh, we got Alaska.
Yeah,
We digress.
Oh boy.
but yeah.
I do
I'm
want to
done
say
with
that
all
the
of
most
y'all.
impressive Olympic athlete to me was the dog.
What's the dog?
The dog?
I did
There
it
was a
wrong.
wolf dog
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that
yes,
got out of his pen, came onto the skiing
Yes, I saw
and
that.
right where they were finishing and came in second. So the dog technically gets the silver medal.
That's awesome.
hilarious.
He just wanted to run.
Well, go Team USA. I see that our women, spoiler alert, our women did win the gold in
Yay.
ice hockey.
Woo!
And we'll see you next week.